Hey guys, I'm Meteorologist Chris Tomer. Let's talk some mountain weather. And we've got 1 to 2 more atmospheric river surges to go, and then it fades. I mean, it's been like a 15-day, just unbelievable atmospheric river pattern with just so many different surges. But now there's an end in sight. Still got big totals, though, coming from these last surges. There's like 2 different lows that will come in and entrain that moisture and bring it in. And we'll also take a look at the late January pattern. We'll take a look at the jet. We'll look at the possible pattern for late January. All that coming up in this update. First off, let's go to the water vapor. Oranges and reds represent drier air aloft, and they've got some big boys setting up here. Look at that low. Look at that low back to the west. And there's a low sliding through Colorado and out right now. Let me just mark the atmospheric river Pineapple Express flow, and it is still just like a fire hose into the west coast right now. So what will happen is these lows will entrain and suck up this moisture and then bring it into the interior and nail the west coast, and then we'll get the overrun. That precip will hit the interior, and that's how we're going to crank out big totals. But this is the last of it. When you look at the forecast here, this is the GFS, the GEFS model, IVT transport. So you're looking at water vapor transport in the atmosphere by latitude out 16 days. The brighter colors represent the bigger chunks of moisture, more transport. So one's happening now, which will be continuing to the 13th, and then the next one comes in 14th, 15th, and kind of 16th, and then ends on the 17th. And behind that, things really dry up. The jet dislodges, takes a whole new pattern, whole new shape. So we'll look at all that coming up in this update. I actually wrote about it this morning on my blog, the final AR surge, late January outlook. So take a look at that. Snowbirds reporting 36 inches in the last 48 hours. Alta was reporting, I think, even more than that. It's just been an incredible stretch. Mammoth Mountain, 72 inches in 72 hours. Take a look at this, too. This is a chart I put together, season to date, how much snow a lot of resorts. This is not an exhaustive list, but like Alta's at the top, believe it or not. 368, they might be the first to 400. Brighton's way up there. Snowbird, Mammoth Mountain at 328. Palisades, Tahoe at about 300. Jackson Hole's in there. Take a look at the list. Vail, Colorado, 170. Aspen Highlands. Thanks to Ryan Boudreau for sending me that information. Got it at 209. He says that's way above the norm for this time of the year. Aspen Highlands. All right. Forecast pattern. This really tells the story. So this is 120. So the jet is completely different. The shape, it's arcing. There's a big ridge in the jet pattern up the west coast, so all the energy is getting sent up in the British Columbia, and then it's going to run down. So that energy will likely drop down through parts of Banff, maybe BC, down to Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and into Colorado if this plays out. The west coast would be protected. California would dry out. Oregon would dry out. But this is the pattern on 120. I want to show you something else. This leads me to the next point, and I've seen a lot of commentary on this, and I actually had an email about this today, the late January pattern. So this is the long range. This would be effective the 24th of January. Basically, there's the possibility of a ridging high pressure maintaining control and maybe strengthening over the west coast. That would continue to send the jet up into BC and then down, which actually could benefit, like I was saying, parts of Canada, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, if this happens, and it may not. We'll have to see where the axis sets up and the magnitude if this plays out. I don't think this is necessarily going to be a long-term pattern at this point. I think the pattern could flip back and favor the west again, but this is something to look out for, probably starting after the 20th and continuing for probably a week. So that's my late January outlook. Let's go to forecast timing. Forecast radar and satellite. All right, Thursday morning at 6, Pacific Northwest BC getting nailed with a fire hose. Here comes the storm into California, and it's kind of a multi-day thing here. There it is on the 15th, sending moisture into the interior. Here comes the final low with the wave and the atmospheric river coming in, 15, 16, and it just continues, and it's probably going to be there and then finish up on the 17th and move out, and then we'll see the west gradually dry out after that. But that's your future plot. Let me just look at totals here. So those are my numbers from this morning. Here are my updated numbers from this afternoon. So here's what's left of today through the 13th. Not a ton of snow in the interior. There's definitely a lot of snow up there in the Pacific Northwest as that storm sets up. Shasta starts to collect on that next storm system and the final surge coming in. So that's period 1. Period 2 is big for California with another 30 to 40 inches, another 3 to 4 feet up there in the Pacific Northwest. Idaho does great, a 1 to 2 footer there. Interior BC, Revelstoke, Red Mountain do well. Another foot to 2 feet for the Tetons, another couple feet for the Wasatch. I love that. Snowbowl and Bryan Head do well. Now the western slope of Colorado, that's one of my favorite places. I've got 1 to 2 feet, maybe more, over the southwest mountains of Colorado from Purgatory, Silverton, Red Mountain, Telluride down into Wolf Creek. I hope that plays out. And northern New Mexico does well with 12 to 18 inches on the way. Again, that's the second period, 114 through 120. Let's go to the northeast. So through the 20th, the big numbers are in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, especially the northern areas there, the northern reaches. Now, there's a storm that comes in 112, 113. It'll be snow initially on the 12th, changing over to rain. So the big totals you see here actually come with the possibility of a storm system down the road on 119 and 120. So that's what I see. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in here for this afternoon, evening update. Take care.